Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and Part 5 to the Mcqueen Walking Dead story. I'm your host, Nick, and like always, before we begin, just want to let you guys know and remind you to smash the like button, subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick, and comment your favorite story, part of a story, or future recommendations for what if stuff that might happen in the future on this channel, and just generally all the above to support the ever-growing future of the Omniverse of Nick. With all that out of the way, we shall commence with the 5th part to this ongoing tale of Mcqueen in The Walking Dead. Let's proceed. Last point we left our characters, things were looking bleak. They didn't have the grenade, and even with Mcqueen, things were looking like everyone wasn't getting out of the CDC. Even Mcqueen was looking at things and trying with his might to burst out, but even he knew that things were pretty much, they could die. And just whenever everyone was losing hope, Mcqueen nudged back, and the minute that he did, to the side of his front, a missile just ejected from the side. And at that moment, all the glass in the area, not just a small area like the grenade did, but literally all the glass around them just completely shattered. And everyone just stares in awe, confusion, and like, what just happened? Did he just shoot? They don't have time to question it. They just make a beeline out of there because they don't know how much time they got left. And they reach out just in time to see the CDC explode. And Lightning, he's never seen an explosion, possibly at all. And seeing this is just terrifying. And the survivors that we get out of this, along with Mcqueen and Merle being in tow, are Jackie, Jim, and Amy. Jim and Jackie, I've never really used in stories before, really, so change there. But now on to the big burning question that everyone here, as well as everyone in the group, is asking: what in the Safari Sam Hill was up with that missile? All Mcqueen did was move, and it just popped out of nowhere. And Rick is the first one to ask, did you know that you could do that? How long could you do that? And they're just drilling him with questions. Rick mainly. But it's not so much out of, like, anger. It's, like, confusion. But Mcqueen, he doesn't know. And he says he's just as much confused about it as the rest of them are. He didn't know that he could do that. And, geez, if he knew that he could do that sooner, then it literally would have been useful to use, especially during the Atlanta camp attack and, like, so on. He knew about others in his world that could use weapons that are ejected from them, but he never had anything like that, and Jenner didn't say he did anything like that. So he honestly has no freaking idea. And Shane, he's got a different opinion about this. He's not looking at Mcqueen as a threat anymore, and he's not looking at him as a powerful car ally. He's looking at Mcqueen as a car with too much power and not enough smarts to use it. Rick, after this, tries to contact Morgan with the same little, success that he did. And the whole reveal that Jenner said something to him. And Mcqueen, after, talks to Rick, still trying to figure out what the frick the missile was, and asks Rick if they're ready to go to Fort Benning with a mischievous smile, and Rick already knows what Mcqueen has in mind. We then get a scene of Rick Grimes driving inside of Lightning McQueen. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with how this happened, watch the past parts to see what I did to make that happen. Anyways, I'm pretty sure that every one of you can probably say, this is freaking awesome. Just imagine that image, even if it be cursed. We then get to the highway scene, and pretty much everything there goes per normal so far, with the only exceptions being added characters: Mcqueen, Merle, Jackie, Jim, and Amy. So, besides that, nothing changes. And whenever the horde does come, T-Dog's not going to get injured because Daryl is right next to him, which he already was, but Merle is there to back up both Daryl and T-Dog in silently, yet doing it in a Merle way, taking out the walkers that were near them. So it would be silent, but not so much with Merle. But this doesn't really put T-Dog in a grateful mood, because at this point, him and Merle would still have bad blood. So, yeah. He's like, about the whole saving thing. But at least he's alive. Jim, he would be either hiding or in the middle of trying to silently fight off walkers, getting himself into a dangerous situation. But Jackie, for the first time in any of my stories, is beginning to perk up a sort of character development in helping Jim, either to get away or fight off the walkers that are near them. And even if one of the former happened, Daryl would be around helping him out, so no one gets bit or dies or anything like that. It's really not that big a deal. Then we get Andrea in her RV, well, the RV, Dale's, and she notices the walkers outside and is like, oh, that's a thing, because that's pretty much what happened. Except Amy in this story is the one to point that out, very scared because Amy, and literally points to what's outside very quietly and, frighteningly. And Andrea, in an attempt to make sure that her and her sister do not die, even more so her sister, they go into hiding and with little trouble are able to take out the walker that enters the RV much more handily than how it was in canon, because Amy's around, so it wouldn't be that big a deal. After that, Mcqueen is the next to spot the horde, and he's not looking pretty happy at all those walkers coming towards them. But Rick silently says to him that while he thinks that Mcqueen would have absolutely no difficulty taking them all down, because one, the missile that they all saw, even if it's just random and they don't know how it happened, and Mcqueen is a talking, sentient car that could ram all of them, it would alert and possibly kill them all in the process. So he tells Mcqueen to just not do anything. And Mcqueen just shuts his eyes and does not move. Basically like an actual car in their world, to blend in. And while this is happening, Sophia, runs off and Rick has to go and save her, and that begins to progress as it does in canon. And whenever Mcqueen opens his eyes and the horde is long gone by this point, now he's angry because now he doesn't know where Rick or Sophia are. He feels like he should just go after them, and it's his fault because he really should have not listened to Rick that time. But Lori says that Rick was right. If Mcqueen had acted, that might have backfired not only on himself, but everyone else. It possibly would have gotten them all killed. Because even Mcqueen couldn't take out that horde alone the way he is now. He's not truly a fighter car, even if he is able to ram all of them. And everything. Rick was right, and she's sure that he and Sophia will be back. They just have to sit here and wait. But Shane begins to monologue to himself and to everyone that Rick brought this on himself. Not only letting in this car, but trying to stick his nose out for Sophia when, in reality, she was just dragging him down in that regard. And yeah, Shane's beginning to show some colors a little bit earlier, mainly because of Mcqueen. And Mcqueen knows this and just angrily glares at Shane, because he knows about Shane and who he is and his anger, especially at the CDC, and the fact that he is more and more starting to fight against Rick. Best friends, right? But he stops himself from doing anything or saying anything specifically to Shane because he knows how much Rick cares for him, and in this moment, it's not really right to do, given the circumstances. Meanwhile, in the woods, Rick and Sophia are there, and Rick goes to hide Sophia and come back to her like he did, leading to Sophia stupidly going out. And after that, Daryl comes into the woods, and that whole escapade pretty much goes the same way. Except Rick would get more into the idea of, like, getting into, like, the gut hole deal of the walkers, since they didn't do that in Atlanta. You know, the whole deal about covering themselves with guts, except it would be kind of different because they ain't ever done it. So it would just be an idea to use for the future. And then, once their results yield nothing, they get back, and Rick has an idea which they can actually now use. He tells Mcqueen to drive as fast as he can every neck of the woods to try and find Sophia. Scour every single place that he can, because Mcqueen can do that. And he won't have to worry about the horde, and if he sees any walkers alone, he can handle those. And Mcqueen, he doesn't have to be told twice. This is his way to make up for what just happened, because he feels kinda to blame. And with that, Mcqueen shows off his skills, saying a signature ka-chow before roaring off into the woods as fast as he can go, looking all over the entirety of the woods near them to scour for Sophia. But before he can find anyone, besides maybe a few walkers in his way that he just rams out of the way, he finds a church, which we know to be the church with those fake bells. So, yeah. Once they get there, though, Shane, he feels as though he's had enough. This Shane is far more into his Season 2 past mentality than ever before. You got Mcqueen, who doesn't know his own boundaries and can shoot missiles randomly out of nowhere. It's a sentient car, for Christ's sake. And not only that, but they're sticking their necks out for a girl who's most likely dead. And Shane, with no Andrea to speak of in the regards of wanting to leave the group, this means that Shane is actually going to leave the group here. Now, this not only came to my mind because of how the story went with Mcqueen and just everything that's happening and Andrea's character being better, and the fact that I never acknowledged Andrea's character being better as a way for Shane to leave in this way because I never thought of it, but you guys helped make that decision too with a community post. So, there you go. But that will be way in the future we talk about that. Once everyone is finished at the church and begins to go onwards, Rick, he begins to notice that Shane is nowhere in sight. Now, it's very possible that he could just be back with the others or scouring some part, but after some time, and more time, especially whenever him, Mcqueen, and Carl go on their section to look for Sophia and find a deer, he begins to see that Shane, he might have left of his own accord. And Rick and Mcqueen, while Carl admires a deer randomly, Rick and Mcqueen, not paying attention to it this time, well, Rick mainly, because Mcqueen was never there, they begin to talk about it when Carl gets shot, snapping them out of their Shane focus to Otis, the accidental shooter. And Mcqueen, while it's very possible to be focusing on the whole Shane thing because of what Mcqueen knew about him and Rick needing to know some of that stuff, Mcqueen, he snaps out of that whole trance to tell and angrily yell at Otis where he came from so they can save his friend's kid. And Otis doesn't need to be told twice. It's a talking car. And Mcqueen also yells at Rick to get in, and they need to go now. And with that, Mcqueen roars with the utmost speed that he's ever exuded, ever, at least in this world, because we know he can go faster. And soon enough, they reach Hershel's farm, where the Green family is going to be coming face to face with Mcqueen. How will they react to Mcqueen? How will the whole entirety of this saga go down and the rest of it without Shane there? When will we see him return? And how will the rest of the story go with Mcqueen being very much so, slowly but surely, stronger than any version of him? But that's where we leave off for now. So, what do you guys think will happen next? How'd you like this episode? And what is your favorite part so far? With all that out of the way, be sure as always to smash the like button, comment your favorite part or parts or stories or future suggestions for the future of this channel, and subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick so you don't miss the ever-growing future that this channel has to offer, especially with your guys' help. But with all that out of the way, I hope that you guys truly enjoyed this 5th part to the tale, because it's only going to get even bigger and exciting from here on out. So I will see you guys next time.